Well, today I'm going to be making some body modifications to my little Mazda B2200 Pickup. We're getting it all pulled apart here because we have to replace the clutch in it, which means we got to pull the engine and transmission out. And this pickup has the 2001 Kia Sportage engine. That'd be called top corner of the screen. Go check that out for the full process it took to get this engine installed. And the modification we're going to be making here today is I'm going to make this part of the body here. I'm going to make a cut here. I'm going to cut somewhere in here. And we're going to make that whole piece removable, and then so we can just get it bolted back in. The reason I wanted to get that done is because it's really hard to get this engine in and out of here, because you want to hang up on the body of the car here, and then also you got your, I don't know if you can see too well back in there, but you have your heater core nipples right back in there. And last time we ended up even bending one of those trying to get this engine put in, and it was about an all-day event getting this engine in. So we want to make this a smoother, easier process, get this engine in and out of here. Okay, so I went ahead and got my air conditioner condenser moved out of the way. You probably shouldn't have to do that yourself if you do this modification, but I'm going to do a complete cleaning and repainting of the engine bay, so I want it out of my way anyway. So I got everything marked out right here, and here's what I come up with. I found the center of this piece going across here by measuring from center of this hole to center of this hole, which comes out to exactly 9 inches between those two holes. So I went 4.5 inch here to find my center, and then from the center line I moved out 9 inches here on each side. I didn't want to go any further over because I didn't want to get into cutting down this bend going across here. And this also gets me around the mounts for the air conditioner condenser. I got myself a couple pieces of angle iron here I'm going to use for my brackets to go across here to weld up to the centerpiece, and then it's going to bolt onto the side so I can reattach this center piece of the frame or the body or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my grinder and get this cut out of here, and then I'm probably going to pull the engine out to get it out of my way. Then go ahead and get these brackets here attached, and that should be about it. And be sure before you do any cutting on your vehicle to measure and remeasure and make sure everything is perfectly spaced out and measured out, because you don't want to make any mishaps getting all this cut up. To be honest, I'm a little nervous cutting into this, but I guess here goes nothing. Okay, I really should have said this before I started cutting. Before you make any cuts, make sure you remove the wiring harness. It goes right up in here. It's tucked up under this piece of metal here. And you will cut that in two. It just has these clips. You can just pop out of the body here. And then on this side here, you have your hood release cable, and it too is tucked up underneath here. So you're going to want to remove all of that before you start cutting anything. So just something I really should have mentioned before I started cutting into this. So now that this is all cut up here, I can go ahead and pull out the one nut right here, holding on the centerpiece. There's supposed to be two, but apparently one is missing. So I can go ahead and get that pulled off, and that piece should come completely off. And it should just be hanging here by this hood cable. And there it is. It should make the engine way easier to remove out of here. Okay, so I got my brackets made here, and I had cut this one in a little bit of an odd shape to go around the square hole, because There's a little plastic deal that goes right there that holds your hood rod when your hood's down. So I had to cut around that, make sure I didn't get in the way of it. And then on this side here, I went ahead and I just cut a small circle out of it there, because I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that bump that sticks up over here, I had to kind of walk around that. So I'm going to be welding, or in my case going to be brazing, because I haven't got a wire welder to do this. I'm going to be brazing on this two brackets to the piece here in the middle that comes off, because when I take this out, I do not want these brackets still on here, because that kind of kills the point of doing all this work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 3 self-drilling screws in for the moment on this side here, and that's going to hold this all in place. And so then I can get this brazed on, and it'll be perfectly in place. And then I can replace self-drilling screws with actual bolts. So then this will actually be easier to remove. It helps if you have a battery that's charged. We're going to try this again here with an actual battery, and the impact. Okay, now the screws in, it's holding everything into place very nicely. Now I need to go ahead and clean off the original paint, and then I can start brazing. Lines up, that'll close. Now that our brackets are brazed on, I give credit to my brother for the nice brazing job. For some reason, it's the way it all lined up. I can get my shadow out of there. But we have this line right here, and you can see the metal is like touching. Whereas on this other side, we have a gap. However, we lined it up to where the hood latch was perfectly in line here with the hood, and it actually looks like it's been wearing lightly on the left side. So I wonder how long that has actually been off, and now it's in line. I'm assuming you can adjust this, but I'm not overly sure how to go about that. So we just lined up the latch with the hood as best we could. And we thought that'd be a best bet with getting all this set into place. Now with all this brazed into place, I'm going to remove one at a time, or self-drilling screws, and replace out with bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and get these drilled out, and we should be about done. And that's about all there is to it. I got all of my bolts drilled out and installed. This definitely made it way easier to remove the engine when we got this cut out. I'll put in the clip right here of when we removed the engine, and as you can see, it just worked really well. The engine can just pass right through the front of the vehicle without having to pick it straight up. Then the back of the engine gets into the firewall. It's just a big mess and a real hassle, and it takes a very long time to get the engine in and out. However, I highly recommend doing something like this, and it's not very difficult to do. Just pay attention, always measure twice before you start cutting, and this may even be one of the best mods I made for this pickup. Right now I'm doing a whole bunch of work with this pickup. We got the engine pulled out to put a clutch in it and fix some oil leaks, get it cleaned up. And while the engine's out, I'm doing a complete repaint of the inside of the engine bay. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and great time to do it now since the engine's already out. I'm going to be having a video coming out on replacing the clutch, and also a separate video on getting the engine pulled out and getting the engine bay painted and doing all this work. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those. Be sure to check out my old videos on this pickup of the custom pickup bed I've built and still building, and the engine swap, axle swap, airbags. I've done a bunch of stuff this pickup, so be sure to go check out all those other videos. Until then, I guess I'll see you next week.